begin with, I was born in a small town in UP, Sitapur. Then we moved to Kanpur from Sitapur. And I had my early education there. There was an American missionary school. That was the only, you could say, public school type. But it was a girls' school. It's known as girls' high school. But as a matter of concession, they admitted about 20% boys. So I got admission over there. And I was there as a boarder for a few years and then ended up right up to senior Cambridge. In senior Cambridge, I was the only boy in a class of 17. And but it was good fun. And then I did my intermediate from Christchurch and moved to Allahabad, where I did my. So after graduating and finishing my master's in 1955, the same year I appeared in the IAS, and I decided that if I didn't come in the first attempt, I'm not going to take another chance. I'd already got a letter of appointment as lecturer in political science, so I said that's okay. But I was confident that I would make it, and I did. So the new career started in the IAS. I was involved in setting up the Punjab Agriculture University, the Haryana Agriculture University. I set up Haryana Tourism, that was a thing in which Haryana had nothing to offer by way of tourism. And that also happened by accidents. Things happened by accident quite often. And in those days you didn't have the Shatabdi between Delhi and Chandigarh. So we used to travel by road. And one of those travels, we stopped by in Karnal. There's a canal over there. So by the side of the canal, there was a small hut, and on a cot, a chap was making tea. So we stopped by to have tea. So I said, it's amazing that right from here to Delhi, there is not a single place where you can stop for a cup of tea. So he said, why don't you do something? So I thought about it. I said, this is the canal here. The land across is saltpeter. It's not agricultural land. So why don't we make an artificial lake around this thing, build something? And this is just midway between Chandigarh and Delhi. It will be a very convenient. He said, do it. He said, why don't you take on tourism? So I thought about it. I said, yes, I can, but I have certain conditions. But you will never agree to it. He said, no, what are your conditions? I said, my first condition is I want an autonomous board to be set up with all the departments of the government concerned to be part of it, and I would chair that board. This department will also be this thing, but will have no veto powers. They'll be in an advisory capacity. Secondly, I said my budget for tourism was 1 lakh per year. I said, secondly, I want no limit to my funds. Thirdly, I said, I want no interference from the government and not even from you. He looked at me.
And we are talking about whom here, sir?
Bansilal.
Okay.
Then I said, I want all posts to be taken out of the purview of the Public Service Commission, and I will fix the pay scales, everything. And I will not send any case to the government excepting those that require cabinet approval. Except those cabinet approval. So he kept quiet for a few minutes. He said, look. I said, are you serious? He said, yes. And that's how Haryana tourism started. I was very particular not to take any agricultural land, but to use existing properties, and where new properties set up, non-agricultural land. I didn't want to displace anybody. Also, in various places where local material was available, like slate and all that, use local material. So provided, and I said, also create the environment, landscaping, water bodies, and provide excellence in staff and food should be absolutely this thing. And one aspect that I was very particular was cleanliness, and particularly about toilets. I had read Nepal's book, Area of Darkness, in which he had blasted at India's this thing, defecating here, there. In fact, it so happened that Nepal was in India, and I met him. I said, "You please be my guest and visit these places." And he came back. He said, "I'm amazed." And so and Haryana became a byword for. We started the concept of highway tourism, and that then was taken up by other states. And then when I took over as Secretary of Tourism, Government of India, I followed that concept in Kerala, in Himachal, and all those places, in Rajasthan. So that is how that thing started. And based on my performance, I attracted the attention of Mrs. Gandhi, and she got me to the center as Secretary of Tourism, called Motilal Nehru School of Sports. I told the Chief Minister, I said, I'm very keen. I've been traveling all over Haryana in the villages, and I find the Haryanvi kids brilliant. Only if they get the right environment, they can come up. They cannot afford to study in public schools like Doon School or Sanar or Mayo or anything. Now, you say 80% of the children free. It's a residential school, co-ed, 400 acres of land. And they're children of farmers, they're children of, all from the rural background. People who couldn't speak a word of English. I thought, here the craftsmen, they had the patronage of Maharajas and all that. All that had disappeared. They were struggling for survival. So I thought I just taken over Secretary of Tourism from Development Classroom. I said, let us get the best craftsmen, master craftsmen all over the country to a tourist spot near Delhi, which is Surajkund, pay for everything, their board, lodging, transport, and there they demonstrate their skills. And that we became patrons of them. So some of this expanded. Now the number of people visiting Mela this year was 15 lakhs. We started on an area of 4 acres, now it's 60 acres. Every year expanding. It's become international. A number of foreign countries. And writing, I had no intention of writing my book, but since I was approached by various friends and well-wishers, so I started it. So it gives a sort of stage by stage, right from my early childhood to my college life, school life, college life, university life, then my joining service, then different assignments that I held, the problems I encountered, how I faced those problems, the grilling that I received. But at that time when I joined service, you see, there was a sense of idealism. You joined the service, you felt that you needed to do something for the community. And I was very particular that I should leave something behind. I was never interested in a routine job. And so right from my early career, really, I was involved in setting up the Punjab Agriculture University, the Haryana Agriculture University, and then later on I worked with 3 chief ministers as principal secretary, and the person who gave me a totally free hand and the confidence that he had in me was absolutely. In our time, our strongest point was our integrity and our passion to do something for the community. That was a vision. And that was the virtue of most civil servants. Integrity was our hallmark. In our time, you pointed out to a black sheep, his integrity is doubtful. Rest are presumed to be honest. Now the situation is, you say he is a very honest officer. Complete change. Now why has that come about? There are various reasons. Firstly, your change in recruitment system. Earlier, you joined the service till the maximum age of 24 or something. Now it extended right up to 32 or something past that. People are married, they have children, they have this thing. That vision is lacking, this thing. Still, I was associated member of the UPSC and I interviewed hundreds of candidates. I found that the best today are in no way inferior to the best of early times. Average has gone down considerably. Then there is a desire to cut corners, jump the queue, get price promotions, particularly in corporations, all that, where you have a lot of perks and other things. You can't do that without political patronage, and there's no such thing as free lunch. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. And so there has been a decline in standards. But even now, there have been a number of officers who have stood up and have suffered. That is the thing. Get price promotions, particularly in corporations, all that, where you have a lot of perks and other things. You can't do that without political patronage, and there's no such thing as free lunch. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. And so there has been a decline in standards. But even now, there have been a number of officers who have stood up and have suffered. That is the thing. So, but I still have, then another factor is that in our time, you got the creme de creme in the service. You had Allahabad University, for example. In my batch, out of 50, there were 8 from Allahabad University, and all of us were the same hostel and all adjoining rooms, all of us. Now you rarely find anybody. Loyola College used to contribute nothing. Bombay used to contribute nothing. Now you have Bihar is contributing, other things are there. And so entire thing has changed. So that is one factor. And I think then also the factor is that when they enter at a late stage, they have families. They are worried about, okay, they don't get transferred. What about their children, their education? All these factors are there. When I joined, I also anticipated I can be transferred. I immediately put my daughter to boarding school. I said, now you can shift me wherever you want. So things have changed, but still I have great hopes from the service because there are people who can stand up and who have done a good job. And but you see, in any developed society, the civil service is the least attractive. Today you have the private sector, you have engineers, other things. So the avenues are vast, alternate avenues. So that is there. And I feel that even today my advice is that you should not compromise on principles. I take pride in 2 facts, that in my entire career I never compromised. Not one case can be cited where I said well, my approach to them would be, I said, why are you joining the service? Why do you want to join the service? Is it just because of pay scales, or is it just because of what you perceive to be a prestigious job? or you think that joining the service will give you an opportunity for public good. If that is your aim, then join the service. But if it is just a mercenary approach, then you're not doing any good to the service. I had an interesting career, and I prided myself on two things. Firstly, I never lobbied for any job. It so happened that jobs came around, and whatever job I did, I made it prestigious, and there were jobs which people would not look at it after I left. They were trying to get those jobs. Secondly, I never compromised. And that is what the entire theme in this thing is: don't break the queue, wait for your turn, have certain principles, stand by your principle, don't compromise, and have a certain vision, long-term vision. And I have found from my experience, if you have a vision, if you have passion, all obstacles will disappear in course of time. Every project that I started, there was no dearth of doubting Thomases. Every stage. But I was determined, and I got, and all projects are working, they're successful, they've lasted, sustained. Well, I'll tell them, I would advise you to join the service, but subject to this thing, that if you are genuinely interested in service for the country, and if you're genuinely interested to suffer, you're willing to suffer should cause arise for a cause, for certain principles, without thinking of personal discomfort or whatever, I think you must join. It will be a great service to the country. Because what people need today is people of substance who can stand up to the politicians. So you see, that passion is there. There have been people, and even now there are many people of integrity. And I think the service has a future. I am not pessimistic. I'm a born optimist, and I think all that happens is for the best. Is that politicians come and go, but we remain. You will have some setbacks, but ultimately you'll triumph.